All right. Let's go ahead and get started. I appreciate everyone who is on today. I'm sure we'll have some more join us over the next few moments. But Lisa, do you want to take a moment to introduce Bob?
Yeah, you guys, the people that are here, I'm super excited that you're here because if you have not seen Bob's uh, presentation before, it's phenomenal. You're going to learn so much, and I hope that you will talk about it to the people that didn't make it and encourage them to watch the recording. So, this is just, this stuff is priceless for you guys. It really is. It really does help um, keep you guys safe and secure out there, especially now. It's kind of a crazy world out there right now. So, I'm going to let Bob tell you all about him. So our favorite thing is here's Bobby.
Bobby. Thank you. Thank you, Ed McMahon.
You're welcome.
No, thank you, Lisa. Good morning, everybody. So I'm going to get into this. I have a lot of material to cover, and I've actually, as mentioned before we started, I've got 20 hours plus of material. So I'll hit on some of the highlights here, and I'll talk quickly. If you have a question, you can always put it in the chat room, and also you can always email me, and my email information's in the chat area. No cost, no charge, don't sell you anything, and I'll copy in your management so they know what I'm communicating to you. But I'm always happy to take questions.
Bob, do
Uh,
you want me to monitor chat or do you monitor it?
no, I can while I'm going along. I'm
Okay.
fine with it. Yeah.
Okay.
So a big topic in California, only in California, doesn't apply to any other state. Somewhere varies a little bit with area, but somewhere between, like, I would say 85 and maybe 95% of litigation lawsuits are against residential agents in California on one topic, one primary topic, and that's red flag disclosure issues, property condition disclosure issues. No other states like us with that degree of litigation. The without going into detail, the normal protocol, though it's not a very good protocol, is when a buyer moves in and they think that something was not disclosed to them that should have been about the physical condition of the home, or they were misled. In other states, they call a plumber, an electrician, or somebody, but most call an attorney here. So that's where it all starts. I will provide, I mentioned to Amy, I'll provide some seminar notes. I'll email them to her to pass them on. And if you ever have any questions on the notes or anything else, again, feel free to call me. I always like to say, or give a shout out to Gov Hutchison. I think everybody pretty much knows who he is, but if not, he's with CAR. Whenever he comes to town or at your local association and speaks, is absolutely worthwhile. He just knows more about real estate than anybody I've ever met. As mentioned, I don't sell anything, and don't charge the real estate firm anything or the agent. So I'm very graciously sponsored by service providers, and they all have a busy day. So we're going to say hello to them so they can get on with their day if they choose to. Well, Lisa's here. I think everybody knows Lisa, and she's got two representations of two different entities, all same family, whatever. Home Warranty, Fidelity, and Disclosure Source with NHD. So take it away, Lisa.
Well, I think pretty much everybody that's on here I know very well and knows me very well, but just to you guys that are here today, thank you for coming and thank you for your continued business. I am super grateful to be partnered with all of you. Super grateful to be a part of your team, grateful to Amy to be reaching out to me to help provide some classes for you and just bring value. Um, you guys know I'm always here for you. Nothing's really changed in the home warranty industry, so still kind of the same old, same old. We obviously the disclosure source, you guys, seriously, the stuff with the fire stuff changes all the time. So it's really hard for me to even keep up presentation wise with that. So all I can really say on that is if you ever have a question about any of that, please reach out to me because if I can't answer it, we've got experts in the field that can. It's very confusing right now. What report do we need? What report don't we need? What's mandatory? What's not mandatory? So don't get caught up in that. Just reach out and I can guide you through that. So again, thank you guys for being so amazing. And I'm just glad to be here. And I'm super excited that you're going to see this presentation because it's awesome.
Great. Thank you very much, Lisa. Craig is here, and he's with Golden State Inspections, and that's a large company. They have lots of inspectors, and they just do everything. They have a superlative reputation for professionalism and follow-up customer service and that sort of thing, and technically just phenomenal. So, Craig, take it away, please.
Well, good morning. It's still morning for a little while longer. Yeah, I've been in business for 25 years and not going anywhere. We're kind of your one-stop, all inspection service company. So besides real estate inspections, which we do both commercial and residential, full reports with video, pictures, the whole works. We also can do other things as well. We can do termite inspections because I also own Defender Termite and Pest Management. One call, you can schedule both of them at the same time, 2 separate times, one or the other, it doesn't matter. But we try to accommodate for whatever somebody needs. We also have our own I'm a licensed contractor. We have our own in-house repair company, and we can also do mold testing, mold remediation. So we kind of try to cover all the bases. On top of that, with a home inspection, you can also add a sewer inspection, pool and spa. So we try to make it easy, and we're professional. We're not alarmists. We handhold through the whole process and be able to guide people through without them freaking out over sometimes little things, sometimes they're big things, but either way, we always give them a solution to how things can be handled. We also have a pest control division. So after people move into a house, we can cover their pest control needs or any future construction or repair services they might want. But feel free to email me, call me if you have any questions. I always tell my clients that after we're done with the inspection, they're always welcome to call us. I don't care if it's years from now. If they just have a question that pops up in their head regarding their property, feel free to give us a call. We don't charge for anything like that. And we do have people calling us on a regular basis. And that's great. It's great to stay in touch with people. So I put my information in the chat box. Feel free again to give me a call if you have any questions.
Great. Thank you very much, Craig. Really superb reputation. And that's hard to earn a good reputation and keep it going. And they certainly have. And then before I start, Legal Services of America, phenomenal company. They don't interfere with corporate counsel or anything like that, but they can, let me just hand it over to Virgil and he can summarize what they do.
Thank you, Mr. Brand. Appreciate all your years of service to our industry. Good morning, everyone there at Realty One Group Fox. We currently provide coverage to Realty One Group HomeLink in Ontario, as well as a Realty One Group Zoom in Tracy. And what we offer is a service that's for your buyer or seller. And what it means is a value add to your marketing. You're going to be able to provide an attorney that's going to be there to answer any legal questions that could impede or delay the transaction from closing, which we know is going to be an important asset to you. And then after the close of escrow, when the problem occurs that Bob's going to talk a lot about and talk about how to avoid litigation, we're going to be there to provide a mediation service to your buyers and sellers that is very effective over 97% of the time in preventing that matter from ever escalating to an E&O claim or any of that. So I want you to please feel free to call on me. I'd be happy to come to your office and speak more about this. It is, again, a homeowner's risk management system where your buyers and sellers get unlimited legal advice before, during, and after the close of escrow. And then after the close of escrow, we're going to provide a lifetime mediation. And of course, with all this talk about lawsuits, we're going to be there. We're ready to respond to continue to protect and defend realtors against these frivolous nuisance type lawsuits that plague our industry. So please, again, call me. I'd be happy to come to your next meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, Virgil. And I know your information, Craig's and Lisa's, are in the chat area. Thank you. Okay, let's get going. Rapid fire here. Starting with the visual inspection, I'll assume everybody here uses the AVID form. If that's incorrect, somebody say something, but it's not technically a mandatory form, but it's extremely popular. I cover the whole state. And there's a couple of sizable companies, I can think of 2 only, that aren't really into it, but otherwise it's almost universally utilized. And it says that we do a visual inspection. That's what it says on the form, and that part of the form has never changed. So a question that might arise, does that mean that what you're doing in your limited visual inspection, your limited inspection is only about the visual things that you can like look at, so to speak? The answer is actually no. Even though the wording has never changed, the meaning of it in court has kind of morphed into meaning any sensory perception. So for example, let's take the first one. You're at a 2-story home doing your AVID type inspection, agent's inspection, which is very limited. And you're going from room to room across the upstairs hallway a couple of times, just a couple, not all time, not each time. It seems like the floor might be a little bit uneven. It's really hard to tell, but you sort of get a feeling like that. Nothing profound. Well, you really can't see that. You can't visually pick up on it. It's like it's a different sense of balance, I guess. And that would deserve a disclosure, kind of a lightweight one, like upstairs hallway floor appears to have some sloping or unevenness is probably a better word. Now, if the buyers read that, and often they don't, but if they do, that's not only good information for them, but a good protection for you. Because if there really is a problem, a fix for that is very expensive, and it will be invaluable for you to have on record a disclosure about it. Now we're downstairs, maybe kitchen, family room area, and there's a really strong, what to you seems like a mildew odor, but it's really heavy. Thinking, well, first of all, I don't know where it's from. You don't need to know, but you want to make a disclosure, but you just have to make it the right way. So since I look at tons of AVIDs, the most common disclosure for something like that is like strong or heavy mold odor or mildew odor, something like that. Well, mold is way outside of identifying it is way outside of our standard of care. Mildew is associated with mold. So we don't really want to use language like that. You think, well, what am I going to say? I'm not going to write down this part of the house really stinks or something, and you don't have to do that. But something I have suggested in the notes is like obvious odor noted in, what did I say, kitchen, family room area. And, that way a disclosure is provided, but you're not guessing at what it might be when the guessing part is outside of our standard of care. It's even like if, let's say you're in the kitchen and you're on the wall next to the refrigerator, there's what looks like a black mold stain. The wording, and I think I'll get to it hopefully in our time frame here, but that would just be stain noted. You don't want to give a color. You don't want to say mold, certainly. Your obligation is just to identify what you observe while staying within your standard of care and not using terminology that it can get you in a lot of trouble in court, and that we're really not supposed to use. So the adequate disclosure for the stain thing would just be stain noted or spot noted or something like that. We don't want to get into the colors or what it could be or might be and all of that sort of thing. So it's really not just visual, so multi-sensory and very limited inspection. And the two categories that we cover in the AVID are defects and red flags. And just a simple difference, like a defect is like, let's say you're in the kitchen and the kitchen window's broken. The disclosure there, may I suggest, would be like cracked window. It's not a big crack, small crack, upper right corner crack, not from the Frisbee, the rock, somebody hit it with a brick or whatever. It's just cracked window, real simple, cannot be argued with, and it's a sufficient disclosure. You didn't miss it, and the client's been alerted to that. The red flag, a little trickier, but it's easy to disclose, like a stain, and it's to say this is a family room. Let's say there's a window right below that stain there on the wall. When I do a live presentation and it's more back and forth, I'll ask agents, what would you write down? They'd say like water stain or big water stain or something like that. Well, we can forget the big, the small, those are adjectives, don't want to use them. And, that stain could be from water. It could be from rodents. Maybe they're storing, the seller has white boxes or crates or whatever of white wine and a bottle broke. I don't know. I don't care really when it comes to the Avid and my limited visual inspection. So just stain noted. I mean, if there's one window in the room, you could say stain noted is ceiling above the window in the wall or something. But we got to stay away from from really diagnosing it like it's water stain or it's this or that. It's sufficient to be brief, and we really take what is normally or easily a longer disclosure and make it shorter by taking out words that do us no good and are outside of our standard of care, and we can get into difficulty with if something goes to court. Lots and lots of challenges. For time's sake, I'll just mention two of them. Let's say I'm in the living room looking around. I can't, as part of the Avid, I can't find anything to say, thinking, well, I got to say something to kind of prove I was in here. Well, lots of people in our business might see that ceiling fan and say, well, that's what I'm going to, put in my laptop, or if you're handwriting it or whatever. Ceiling fan noted. But a ceiling fan is not a defect or a red flag. It's inventory. And we're not there to list inventory in our limited visual inspection. So I would ignore that fan unless it was, rattling or something like that. But it's really not the kind of disclosure we want to make. There is something you can say or write down when you're in a room, you've looked around adequately, which doesn't take long, and you have nothing to say about it. It looks like it's in perfect condition. You wouldn't write down perfect. I'll get to a suggestion in a moment. Just one more challenge of the many out there. I'll call it the spider web challenge. I'm in a bedroom and it looks great, looks fine, nothing to disclose. And there's a little spider web up in the corner, by the ceiling. Since I look at tons of Avids, it's very common for agents to say there's a spider web wherever. It's too minor. It doesn't rise to the level of something that would affect the value or desirability of the property. It just is like filler. So not a good idea to do that. So having done this for a long time, statewide, pretty equally dispersed, the most frequently used and the most commonly used, when I speak at an association of realtors, I'm often introduced by their counsel, their attorney, and they give a 10-minute presentation and invite me on. I've heard this is the only thing I've heard over and over and over again. You're in a room, you look around adequately, which doesn't take long, and there's nothing to say about it. We don't want to get into the wear and tear stuff usually. I'll try to address that later. Nothing noted is ideal. The only objection I've ever heard is when the entire home is in just amazing condition. Often higher end homes, but it doesn't have to be in that category. But you've looked around, there's like nothing to say. And you're thinking that, well, the result is going to be, there's going to be an Avid that's going to say nothing noted, nothing noted, nothing noted. It looks like I never even showed up. So here's a way to take care of the nothing noted, but also prove that you showed up. So here in California, it does vary some in the mountain communities like Yosemite or Big Bear or something like that. But the vast majority of homes have, like on the left, what we call stucco siding. If you ever want to mention that, some condition of that, it's good to drop the word stucco and just say exterior siding at like left side of house or something. Sometimes brick, and definitely on the right, concrete or cement, driveways, patios, poolside. It is impossible or very close to impossible to find any home in California where these surfaces are crack free, especially in the far right, the patios and the walkways. So that's always something you can say, but how you say it is very, very important. Here is what I think is an ideal disclosure, and you can customize it for the style of the property or what's there. Like, let's take it, some cracks noted at exterior siding, and you can be specific if you want, you don't have to, if it's just kind of here and there, and backyard patio. See, if you write down, if you're at the backyard patio and that's the only place you find the cracks, and don't say hairline, don't say settling crack, that's even worse because that's a geotechnical engineer's term. But you see like 3 cracks that really don't bother you at all. If it was your home, they wouldn't bother you. And you write down 3 cracks noted, and you have a really kind of persnickety, a buyer that's really into detail, and they say, you said 3, and we're here on the patio, and there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or 6, but they can't argue with some, and that's just a better word to use. I mean, the place is, if the patio is completely being just like demolished, that's another level, but just the typical, what we would privately think of as like a normal settling crack. It's not always from settling, but it's very common. That's, a geological type term. So just some cracks noted at wherever, exterior siding or left side of house or backyard patio, driveway, or whatever. And if you're wondering where to put it down, where to write it into or type it or whatever you're going to do on the Avid, well, there's other places, but don't forget that if you haven't got to, and if you haven't filled it in yet, at the very or near the very end of the Avid is this one category that is often ignored, but it's a good catch-all. Other observed or known conditions not specified above. And that's a place you can always write something down if you haven't got to it, yet. So, and this will all be in the notes. Okay, stating the obvious, this is more disclosure for or about a property when you have the buyer. Well, it could be either side, but I'm going to kind of focus on probably more the seller in terms of disclosure. The buyers, and you're representing the buyers, and you're showing them this property. I don't know. I've been doing it so long, I take these pictures, I don't even know where this is, but on the right, you see the white fence. So that's that house. Well, some agents say, well, my client is buying a home right across the street from like a junior high school or whatever, middle school, whatever they're called. So that is so easy to see, or there's a Walmart across the street or whatever. I really don't have to disclose anything because it's an insult to their intelligence to even mention it. But it really isn't an insult to their intelligence. There should be a disclosure. Anybody that buys this home is going to experience, especially if new to them, especially if they haven't lived really close to a school, like gridlock in the morning and afternoon when the kids are dropped off and picked up, or the kids are going to sit on the fence there or congregate there. And then you have do they still ring bells in between classes or a buzzer or something all day long? And the events that they have there, sporting stuff in the playground and on weekends too. So as obvious as it is, we still need to make a disclosure. It's how we disclose it that's important. And we can come up with disclosures that cover everything or anything the buyers could object to, which I'll get to in a second. So where was I here? I guess this would be LA, I-10, probably 10 in La Cienega, I guess somewhere around there. Anyway, the house on the right, it's hard to get closer to a freeway, over the ivy hedge is the on-ramp. So first of all, no matter how obvious something is, we still need to disclose it. That's very clear. But again, it's what the wording is. We can say it's next to or near a freeway and leave it at that, and that's better than nothing. But some agents will say, probably most, that there may be a noise issue with the nearby freeway. Well, that's only one thing they may object to. Now, you think it's common sense. They're that close. It's a major freeway. They're going to be, hearing noise from the traffic and the trucks and so forth. But we have to be careful about that because there's some other things that we may want to alert them to. I'll give you the example in a minute. And then one more picture, and I'll get to my point finally. This is a shopping center. It happens to be near my home. I'm familiar with it. It's pretty big. There's, I think, 4 buildings. There's a Target on one side and a big box supermarket on the other. Very, very active shopping center. So these homes above are kind of view homes. They're kind of on the more expensive side for the area. And there have been complaints and threatened legal action by buyers who move here, and they obviously can see when they look over the fence, there's a big shopping center there. But the litigation is about where, well, there are these big 18-wheeler trucks that do deliveries during the day, and it would expect that at a big facility like this. But we had no idea that they were going 24 hours a day. It's like 2:00 in the morning, and these big, huge trucks are backing up. So we get the beep, beep, beep thing, and the forklifts and the delivery people yelling at each other and screaming, all that. They said it just never stops. So we have to have a disclosure where we have warned them about that or cautioned them so they not only know from a humane standpoint, but there would be no recourse against us. So first of all, no matter how, I mean, literally, you go out your front door and the Walmart's there or the, whatever, you still have to disclose it. Never stop or refrain from disclosing it. But when disclosing something that's near the property, my suggestion is that you disclose what is there, never the details of what may bother the buyers about what is there, because you'll never know which of the things may bother them or what their attorney will be telling them, say, bothers you. So, for example, on the freeway proximity, there's a freeway near the house, period, covers everything. The buyers object to noise. Well, I disclosed that there's a freeway near the house. The freeways have noise, make noise or produce noise. There are runaway tires that, blow off of a truck and fly into the air or something. Yeah, that's because, as disclosed, there's a freeway near the house. Or the fumes, the exhaust, that's because of this. It's a good blanket disclosure, because if you make a list, the buyers who want to come after you or their attorney who definitely wants to come after you, they just have to come up with something not on the list. You didn't tell them about this or that. You told them about the gas fumes, but you didn't tell them about the diesel fumes and that sort of thing. They can get really picky. A school is close to this property. So they complain about the gridlock of the traffic, drop off, pickup. That's because there's a school close to the house. The kids hang on our fence. We're right across the street, make noise. That's because there's a school close to the property. And weekend events, it just answers everything. And better not to make a list of specifics. And back to our final one here on the shopping center. Maybe something like a shopping center is located behind this property. I know that sounds overly simplistic, but when we start to list things, we might list a bunch of things and then the buyers say, all that doesn't bother us. What bothers us is a lot of people shop here. And, when all of us leave our car, we have that little key fob thing and we push a button and the doors lock and there's the horn beeps. They say it's driving us crazy. It's not the delivery trucks. It's that. Well, that's because, as disclosed to you, there's a shopping center behind the home that you purchased. And that's what happens at shopping centers. It's much better than coming up with a list, because I look at a lot of disclosure documents and that have changed over the decades I've done this. And there's always something that a attorney who's very clever and doesn't have the best motives at heart can come up with. So we have to be careful about that. Okay, another principle of disclosure is that generally speaking, the only buyers that sue are buyers that are surprised. They're caught off guard. They encounter something at the property they had no idea was there or that they would experience. If they encounter something and the home inspector or you as their agent disclosed it or something, we should have read that more carefully. That's the direction we want them to go. So I'll tell you a story about this lot here. So you can see in the photo, there's kind of like a vacant lot, and then the house you can see the roof of. It's actually a fairly big neighborhood, but you can't see that through the trees, but like a development. Well, out-of-state buyers moved into this house. This is near where I live, so I'm familiar with this. They moved in, virtually no disclosures. First day in, it's like 2:00 in the afternoon, and they hear this just unbelievable noise, really loud and rather peculiar. Like, what in the world is that? That's like just super loud. Well, that lot is a hot air balloon launch site. I think I have another picture here. Yeah, there's two. They actually do three a day. Start about 2, depending on time of year and all that sunset. And it's very loud when they get them to lift up. And then they shut that down, and they just leave and go try to find the balloon when it lands. But it's definitely an inconvenience. The problem was the out-of-state buyers were never told about that, and there's no way they would have guessed that. So whoops, I thought I had my phone off here. So if they're not surprised, they, oh yeah, that's the hot air balloon thing. That's the hot air balloon thing that we were told about. Well, there's no recourse because it was disclosed. That's kind of the essence of disclosure. So on this topic, when representing the seller, a really good question to ask, because they're probably used to the noise, whatever it might be from, there could be a variety of things. There could be a nearby airport where at night the pilots change the way they land and they go over a different neighborhood or something. But when representing the seller, a great question to ask and make it a rather serious conversation so it's just not on the fly. You've been living here for quite a while. Is there anything about this property that when your buyers move in, that the neighbors, who are often so helpful to chat away, are going to tell the buyers? And take some time with it, because it's the hot air balloon thing is an exception to the rule, but there's always things that go on in neighborhoods where, if asked, and maybe probed a little bit, the seller will say, oh, well, I wasn't going to mention this, but this does happen, or there is like the hot air balloon thing. If the buyers are not surprised, you can have almost anything going on as long as it was disclosed. Another example of this sort of thing would be like, I think most of the sizable cities have what do you call it, Christmas tree lane area or something, where the residents go really all out for decorations. I think I have another one here. I don't know, but I see it for Halloween too. And they're often called Christmas tree lanes. And most of them have about 2-week period where cars are going like 3 miles an hour to look at all of the properties. They're just quite amazing to see. And in some areas, some developments, some neighborhoods, the homeowners association pays to have all this done, and some they don't. And there's pressure on the buyer by neighbors. We really hope you're going to get into this with us. We all do it. And that would be something that would need to be disclosed. So again, is there anything about this property the neighbors are going to tell the buyers, and make it kind of a serious conversation? Just again, not on the fly. Can work well. Check the chat room real quick here, and we're about a little over halfway done. Comment, I like the word obvious. We were just talking about that during our live Avid training, just away from, yeah, like that. Rather than strong odor, obvious odor. And then strong gets debatable, obvious does not. Okay, switching gears a little bit, should you disclose just common wear and tear items? And this would be things like, you find in any home that's been lived in for any, decent length of time, scuff marks, what I have, peeling paint, the carpet's dirty. And I'll give you my opinion. If it varies from how you're instructed there, do it your way, but I'll just tell you what my opinion is. Usually no disclosure for that level of property condition, mainly because it's in just about every home, unless it's a really new home, or, by the way, stay away from the term brand new. That's even litigious, but a very new home. And anyway, let me give you some examples here, or reasons. When you lower the bar down, because everything looks so great, you find something that's just like rather picky. You've set a standard there, and then you have to disclose all of those wear and tear issues in every part of the home. And that's quite a burden. And there's way, way, way too much in the Avid. And then buyers that are very conscientious, that actually read this document, and they're really trying to find out in advance, what may be wrong with this home, so we won't be surprised. And maybe we can, especially in the market now, negotiate a little bit about repairs or whatever, unlike, a few years back. There's just way too much in the Avid, and it can kind of mess things up for us. A way I like to illustrate it, I've never played this game, but when I'm in a live audience and I show this picture and I ask the crowd, what game is this? Almost everybody says, where's Waldo? Now, Waldo is a guy in a red and white striped shirt. I'll do this and you can see him. And the point is that there's a lot of people there, is to try to, oh, by the way, I have to, if you like Waldo, I'm sorry to say he was recently arrested, got in trouble with the law. But anyway, you can still play the game. So it's trying to find him. And when you don't have that arrow, it's hard to. So I like Waldo to represent the meaningful disclosure the buyers really should know about and maybe can do something about, or at least say, hey, they did tell me about it. All the other beachgoers are the superfluous, never-ending disclosures about things that nobody ever sues over, and it just kind of clogs everything up. Way too much in the Avid. Here is a great technique, and it's very brief, on taking a rough draft disclosure. You're looking at a property condition that's within your standard of care, and you're wondering, how do I say this the right way so it, doesn't come back to bite me, so to speak? And here's the technique. First of all, it does not cost anything at all. You don't have to download an app, and it takes, once you get good at it, which doesn't take long, it can be done in about a half a minute. So let's say I've got the buyers and I am doing my Avid thing. I've been able to get entrance to listing agent and work with the sellers, whatever, to let me in. And by the way, I know there's a common practice that when the home inspection is going to be done, the agent wants to be there, the buyer's agent, and the buyers often want to be there. And by the way, having your buyers, I know if they live in New Jersey or something, it can't happen. But if there's any way possible to have buyers attend the home inspection, it substantially reduces the chance of litigation. Plus, they meet the home inspector, they develop a rapport, it gets a little personalized, and there's just less litigation from that too. Now, on the listing side, you can kind of usually get in there anytime and just do it as soon as you can. On the buyer side, it is not a good idea. It's not the preferred concept to do, even though it's convenient, to do your Avid at the time of the home inspection. And that's because as you walk around the house, you might be seeing things that the home inspector sees, but you wouldn't be responsible for them because what he's doing is beyond your standard of care. And that can get problematic. I'll give you an example of that. So nothing in the house anywhere to say, really. My last stop is the kitchen. I was able to get in the house before the home inspection. I'm going to attend the home inspection, and especially if the buyers are there, but I will have already done my Avid and I have an earlier date on it. So I don't know how to disclose this. It could be a big deal. It's next to the refrigerator. It's the only thing I found in the home that's suspect. Well, you want to get out of there too. You don't want to stand there for an hour and deliberate. So this is going to sound a little bit old-fashioned, but put your cell phone away or laptop or whatever you're doing, and just get, the old-fashioned pen and paper thing and write down whatever comes to mind. But you're not writing it down on the Avid, just on a little notepad. For me, this kind of looks like there are 2 small black mold stains noted. Now, that'll never be on the Avid. That's just what it appears to be to me. So I'm done. I leave the property. I go to my home office, my car office, whatever office, take it out. And then, as you can see, I'm starting to do here, start to just cross out. This sounds, I know, overly simplistic, but it just works well. Cross out the words that don't have to be there grammatically. You don't have to say to or small, no colors, never write down mold. All I have left over is just stains noted. That's the ideal disclosure. Then I get out the actual Avid, and that's what I disclose to the left of the refrigerator in the kitchen at the wall there. Nobody can disagree with it. If the buyers want to, they can investigate it. They don't have to, but they are now in a position to investigate, and that's the position they should be in. Some of these, when the wall is removed, chunked out, it's a real disaster. And sometimes it's not. And sometimes the buyers who have just moved in have to move out for a month or 2, and then the people in like astronaut suits descend on the home, and it's a very expensive fix. So that's a rough draft to a final disclosure in really just a few seconds. A good illustration of this in practical everyday life is I know there are different supermarkets in different parts of California, but there's one major chain. It kind of varies wherever you are. And since we are in real estate, we're probably all in a hurry. We often probably use this express lane. And notice it says 15 items or fewer. Okay. So I don't know about you, but I use this kind of a lane, and I've had some experiences where there's a crowd of people and they're moving fast because it's 15 items or fewer. But somebody, it's usually a guy more than a woman. Guys have this problem. They'll say to another guy, you know, we're moving along here slowly. I counted the stuff in your cart. You got 18 things and the sign says 15. Now, I've never seen a brawl break out, but there's a little tension there. There's another major supermarket that does it this way. It's ingenious. Express lane, about 15 items. Nobody's arguing about anything. That guy's not going to say, it says 15, there's 18, because the response would be, no, it says about 15. And 18 is about 15. It just dissolves the argument, and really the argument or the confrontation doesn't start. That's a good lesson in writing our disclosures. We want to write them in such a, back up, we want to write them in such a way that they're not easy to, they convey information, which is important, but they're not so detailed with the wrong use of language that they can backfire on us. Okay, let me quickly just look at a couple of things here. Well, I was going to do the, should you take photos during the limited inspection, but let me get something else because of our time here. Here's, I think, wonderful advice, if I may say so. It's very, very common that when an agent is representing the buyers and they're going to have a professional home inspection. And by the way, if you're in the habit of recommending your buyers out of state, maybe particularly, but from anywhere, I recommend you get a licensed home inspector. Keep in mind, the state of California does not license home inspectors. There are no licensed home inspectors anywhere in the state of California. Something like 41 states license them, but we're not one of them. So not a good term to use because they don't exist. You can say professional home inspector, something like that, but stay away from licensed. But I think it's just a really good idea that when you do your AVID inspection, you do not do it at the same time the home inspection is going on. It's a convenient time too, because hopefully your buyers are there. They want to kind of see what's going on. They want to meet the home inspector, maybe walk around with them or whatever. I've already done my AVID if it's humanly possible. So I'm sitting in the kitchen or somewhere just doing some paperwork. I don't want to follow that guy around. And here is why. Home inspectors have a different standard of care than we do. They actually get sued more than real estate agents, believe it or not, in California. They just do things that they go in the attic and we don't. There's different opinions with real estate companies as to looking under utility sinks, but I won't get into that. So let's say I am able, sometimes you can't, but if you make an effort, sometimes you can. I have the buyers, but I'm able, and the home inspection is coming up. Let's see, today is Wednesday. The home inspector is coming in Friday. I want to be there. My buyers are going to be there. But anyway, if I can get in before then, that's good. So when I arrive at the home inspection, I'm sitting it out. I'm not following anybody around. That's a big mistake, especially following the home inspector around. But anyway, I can get out there tomorrow, whatever. I'm in the master bedroom. Whoops, back up. I don't see anything to disclose. It looks fine, you know. If there was a throw rug at the base of the bed there, I wouldn't look under it because I don't move things out of the way. But the home inspector does. So if I happen to be in this bedroom because I'm doing my inspection, my AVID inspection, out of convenience, because the home inspector's there, that's a really bad thing to do because anything that guy sees, I have to disclose too. And sometimes if he wasn't there, I wouldn't see it. Like here, behind his picture, let's say there's something like that. But I don't move paintings and pictures as a real estate licensee. It's outside of my standard of care. So I don't move things out of the way. And so I would have no disclosure for this, and appropriately so. So in my opinion, you know, keep in line with company policy there at Realty One Group Fox, but always complete the AVID prior to the home inspection. If there's any way it can be done, sometimes you can't, but if there's any possible way, it does reduce your liability. If there are some, especially in our market now, if there are some pending repairs, I'm not talking about drastic repairs like half of the house has to be removed or something, but if just kind of maintenance repairs that are going to be done, they've been negotiated, do your visual inspection of the home anyway. You can always go back to check to see if they really did what they said they were going to do, but never delay the inspection because of pending repairs. And then when the home inspector is there, you've already done your inspection, your Avid thing, if you can, sometimes you can't, but if you possibly can, that just reduces your liability. Then when the inspection is taking place for the buyers, it's a good idea to be there, but you're just going to sit it out. Again, family room or kitchen or whatever, and just get some paperwork done or whatever you want to do, read a book or whatever. You've already done your agent's inspection. And when you go to that master bedroom and the buyers are saying, hey, come up, look at this. The inspector took the painting down. There's this terrible crack behind it. Well, now you know, but you've already completed your Avid inspection, and there's no mention of that because you don't move picture frames out of the way, and that puts you in you may get involved in it or help with the resolution, but the form you filled out earlier than the home inspection was done properly, and you would have nothing to say about it in the report because you don't have x-ray vision. You're not looking behind the painting. It puts you can still help after the fact, but because of the timing of your inspection before the home inspection, it puts you in a much better position from a litigation standpoint. So in my opinion, never complete the Avid during the home inspection. We're not far from being done, but let me look at a couple of things. We instruct our agents to do the Avid as close to accepted offer as possible. Okay, I see that. That's a good point. That's a good point. And sometimes some companies, and it's a company decision, is you can do the Avid anytime. The issue here is doing the Avid at the same time the home inspector is, where he's kind of being followed around or we're accused of following him around. But a lot of companies like to have it done very close to closing, and that's fine. It's just better not to follow the home inspector around. Even if you're doing it at the same time, don't tag along with the guy, because you're going to see him doing things that will expose things that you have no responsibility for, no liability for disclosing. It's just a matter of staying in our lane. But yeah, what the suggestion was works well too. All right. This is really easy here, and about 8 more minutes. The pack rat room. Now, this is easy. You know about it, but there's a little twist here I'll throw in. So you're doing your Avid inspection, and you look at this room, open the door, and think, oh my gosh, it's crowded. Well, we don't want to be responsible for what's in here. We just don't have a good visual connection to very much. And you never know that when all this stuff is removed, maybe the room looks like this. Well, I can't see that. It looks kind of bad. It's a big red flag. And I wouldn't write down mold, but I would sure think, I would say discoloration, because I'm not allowed to diagnose mold. But, I'd be concerned. And I don't want to be responsible for the room. So I would disclaim the room and have something in the Avid, something like this. Companies change a little bit on the wording, but it basically states extensive personal belongings, preventative visual inspection. Now, the buyers are usually instructed that and you can help with this, the other agent can cooperate with you on it, that have the sellers clean the room up and return. The reality is, and having been in the business doing this for 32 years, that rarely happens. So we have a disclaimer over that part of the house or that room, could be the garage, that releases us from liability. We are willing to go back once it's cleaned up, but it never gets cleaned up. They run out of time, escrow closes, now the buyers are in it, and they're cleaning it up and they're finding all kinds of problems that were never your job to disclose because you couldn't see them. There's too many things in the way, and you're protected not just a technicality, but honestly protected by disclosing I was unable to get into the garage. That's a biggie in terms of litigation because there's so much stuff in there, or the master bedroom or the den or something like that. It's a good thing it just remains in perpetuity, so to speak. There's a big story behind there. These pictures, I'll just do it real quick. This same room on the left after the buyers moved in, on the right when it was being shown. And it was a slanted floor. It's in a very expensive area, slanted floor. And the home inspector didn't pick it up because when he was there, it looked like it did on the left. And fortunately, I have it really big here to make it easy to read. For that room, he had wording similar to this. He just couldn't inspect it and call me back once it's cleaned up. And again, 95% of the time, in most markets, you're never called back. So that's a good liability release for you. And don't forget the outside of the home. We make a big deal about this and visual obstruction inside, but we're responsible in a limited fashion for the exterior. So, you know, a lot of sellers, they store their boat or their surfboard or their this or their that on the side of the house. And there's foliage there, kind of like this or even heavier, where we can't see it. And we've got, just like we would disclaim that in the house, if something's blocked from view, we got to do the same thing. So in the notes, some wording I have that you might like and, you know, might like to use: extensive vegetation or debris or whatever prevented a visual inspection of portions of the house exterior. Now, what do you do when you see a home like this? This is a real place. I have no idea. I would just say, give up. There's no way you can make your way through that. That's for more of a laugh. Real quickly here about adjectives, and it's a good idea in disclosure that we never ever use adjectives. So let's talk about them. Now let me back up here just a second. We got about 3 minutes. Okay, I'll do this. This is the last thing I'll cover. I'll do a kind of rapid fire, and then you can always invite me back because I've got a lot more. No adjectives. So we want to keep it short and simple. And this has to do in disclosure, not so much in advertising. Advertising is a whole nother deal. It's much less litigious. I do talk about it, or can talk about it at length, but it's the property condition disclosure part of the deal that gets us in the most trouble. So small, large, fair, poor, colors, numbers, water, like water stain. It's just a stain. I don't care where it is. It's just a stain. It's not a water stain. It could be, but we don't write that down. There's no reason to. We can satisfy our responsibility of disclosure by saying stains noted or discoloration noted. We put in water, we're saying we have somehow figured it out was from water. And if it wasn't from water, it was from, you know, animals living in the attic, or, you know, all kinds of stuff, and it can get us into difficulty. So let me skip this right now. But about cracks in patios: settling cracks, surface cracks, hairline cracks, cosmetic cracks, expansive crack. A better word is just cracks. Crack, singular, or if you see more than one, which is common, just some cracks noted. If we add all those other words to it, we can, let me just back up here. We can be sued over expansive, cosmetic, hairline, surface. They're all interpretive, and we don't need to write those words down. It doesn't help anybody, especially us. Just cracks. Better way to go. So we have an original disclosure statement, exaggerated a bit, and we're going to just trim it down. 3 large settling cracks noted near mold stain above fireplace. So we get out, we remove the 3, the large, the settling, the mold, and we just come up with what's left over. Much better disclosure, clear, concise, cracks noted near stain above fireplace, virtually no litigation potential, really can't do anything about it. Okay, let me see. I think I'm going to end here. Got lots about building permits, and there's a room addition. What should you do or not do? Oh, you might get a kick out of this. I'll do this rapid fire, stigmatized homes. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on it. Homes that are stigmatized, good or bad, potentially negative issue is a dictionary definition, but they could be good. But I get involved in these disclosure of the subject property, stigmatized, or even near one. So you may recognize this if you saw The Father, the Bride. I think of two movies. It's a real house. It's in Pasadena. It's not on a movie studio backlot. It's a real house. It's lived in. So as you can imagine, here's what it looks like. I think I took this picture a couple of weeks ago. It's very recognizable, and every time I'm anywhere near there, mainly Pasadena, doing a seminar, I will drive by. I never stop. Don't want to bother anybody. I drive by. There has never been a time that there is not a crowd of people out there. And so that need to be a disclosure, but not just for that house, but homes. Usually the number is about 8 to the left, or where am I? Left, and 8 to the right and across the street. This is the most stigmatized, besides the White House, this is the most lived in stigmatized home in the United States. And that is the Brady Bunch house. Never did any filming here at all, just used as the exterior. And they recently did some renovation on it. The bottom is how it looked in the old show, if you go back that far. And the top was before the renovation. So we got to be careful about those. But anyway, that's a whole nother topic. Let me go down and just thank our sponsors. So first of all, thank you very much for the invite. Pleasure to be here. Lisa with Fidelity National Home Warranty, Disclosure Source, NHD. Thank you, Craig with Golden State Home Inspections, Real Pros, E&O Insurance, phenomenal job. Legal Services of America, mediation after closing that you never have to worry about, what's going to happen with the buyer, between buyer and seller, because that they take care of that in a very great way. So thank you for having me in. And if you ever have disclosure questions, you can get my number from the recording of this. Disclosureinfo@aol.com is my email address. I'm the last remaining member of AOL, I think. Disclosureinfo is one word. And I will say goodbye to everybody. And if you would like me back again anytime, just let me know, and I'd be glad to come back with just all new material, and I'll try to get some new jokes in there too. So thank you,
Perfect.
everybody.
Thank you so much for joining us today,
Okay.
Robert. I really appreciate it.
Okay, thank you. Bye.